So other than some rough thumbnail information, which I know, I can't go into much detail about HAARP because I don't know it as well as I might.
One other question on the contrails, and then we had some other topics we were going to move on to. Have you found through your research that it's more prevalent in this country or even in certain states in this country, or is it really a worldwide phenomenon that it's being practiced?
Weather modification is being practiced in 50 countries around the world, and that means that they're all having a synergistic cumulative effect on our weather. And right now we can put one state or one county into drought conditions where another state or county gets more rain or more snowfall. So we have the power to alter the climate and alter the weather patterns because we can move weather, we can dissipate clouds, and we can move cloud patterns from one place so that they rain in one area and not in another. So being that we are doing this, the weather modification companies in the United States are openly admitting that they're modifying the weather in 50 countries.
So it is happening quite actively. It's very interesting in Florida, where I am. Obviously, I'm not a native, but I have lived here for a few years, and the last 3 years we've been almost completely hurricane-free. And this year we actually, I think, had one possible tropical storm, at least where I am, and the rest of the summer has been completely calm. And right now, almost mid-October, we're going through the most phenomenal heat wave that I've never experienced here. I'm wondering if that is possibly that they helped. 3 years without any kind of hurricane to me is very odd here. Could that be any kind of weather modification, do you think?
Oh, yes, very definitely. I know that NASA is openly modifying the weather with a private individual that was part of that owned the Dynamat Corporation. I think it's called Gel Inc. now or something like that. But he's a private individual that's been modifying the weather, and they're doing they're trying to modify hurricanes. And MIT Professor Emmanuel on the Discovery Channel spoke about using jets to release black contrails or carbon black on the West Coast and create these storm and different kinds of weather scenarios to move across the United States to push hurricanes off the East Coast. It doesn't surprise me that you have no hurricanes because we think they've started some of those systems here and rolled them off going across the United States. However, I think that they've left flooding in the Midwest and other areas. So it's something we need to look into because if these experiments are going on without any public consent or oversight, no congressional consent or oversight, then what we do know about some of the programs because they're public record, and with what they may be experimenting upon without our consent, could be a disaster situation. Can you tell me what kind of heat you're having there?
I know it's up in the 80s, and Thursday, Friday, I think Wednesday, I was told were record highs.
Because they were conducting some the Navy was conducting some experimental atmospheric programs over you, and they did put up a dust cloud of aluminum oxide over you, and they said they were going to be studying it, and it was going to be expanding for several months, according to the University of Virginia. So one of the things that this Navy program, and you can go to the NASA website and look it up, it's the CARE program. It's the Charged Aerosol Release Experiment, CARE, and this might have an effect on your weather, or in addition, they may be doing some other experiments. When you go outside, do you feel like your skin is burning or really too hot?
So badly, and I'm very fair-skinned, but I've actually mentioned this to a few people lately, and I've said I just feel like when I walk, my skin hurts when I walk outside, and I don't sunbathe, I don't go to the beach, but literally walking from a building to my car, and I don't remember it being this bad before. In fact, right now, from driving here, my skin is sort of feeling burnt, like I've been lying on the beach.
Yeah, it almost feels like your skin is cooking, and that's what we experienced here for about 2.5 weeks. in California, which started to turn our grapes to raisins, unusual because normally they hadn't even hardly started picking here, and they had to rush into doing some picking because the grapes were just cooking on the vines. But what you're feeling is probably high UV radiation and then infrared radiation, very intense, where you feel this heat. And the ambient temperature may not be that great, but when you get out in the sun can almost feel like your skin's cooking. And we think that the Navy and other experiments done by NASA and the Air Force could be breaking down the barriers which protect us, and that's why we're feeling the intensity of that type of heat. And it's something that we need to have investigated for absolutely.
We certainly do, and that is exactly how I've described it to people. I feel as if I'm cooking. And I would think that would also increase skin cancer, which would be not a good thing. While you just asked me what the temperature is here, I just looked online while I'm talking to you. Right now it's 82 degrees, but it's saying that for Saturday it's going to be 92 degrees. And I think for mid-October that's pretty ridiculous.
That sounds awfully warm for you.
And it's
to be that high.
Yeah, it's showing that for all week it's going to be in the 90s.
And I'm wondering what your infrared readings would be. My guess is your UV radiation is going to be extremely high, maybe really, really high in the 10 or 11 range, maybe higher. I'm not sure. We can look it up on the EPA website. The EPA has a website, and anyone can go to the EPA website and look up UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation, and you can even be put on a warning list so that when it gets to a certain height, your audience can be warned of when this is going to be really, really high in your area.
Yeah, I would think that would be a very, very good idea, because if people are not expecting it and they go out for their regular morning walk or whatever, it's, I think, probably very useful to know that. Rosalind, before we started, you mentioned that there are several major issues that you're concerned with right now. Do you want to tell us about some of the others?
Yes. One of them is that the Navy has set up 5-year warfare testing programs in all of the areas of the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Gulf of Mexico. They're using sonar in these 5-year warfare programs. They're using bomb blasts, toxic chemicals. They've been approving the taking of NOAA, National Marine Fisheries Service, has been approving the taking of marine mammals. 11.7 million of them. It's just absolutely shocking to see what is actually going on with these programs, and they're being approved without public consent for the most part, without public knowledge. And we're in a pitch battle here in California to stop the one that's going to be expanded into Northern California, Oregon, Washington, even over land areas. Idaho is involved in this. And so what we're going to be doing is I'm putting out flyers, packets. We're sending out 300,000 postcards with regard to the Navy program to get actually U.S. Senate and U.S. House hearings on this issue so that we can protect our coastlines, protect public health, and protect the fish, the marine mammals, the habitats. The Air Force is going to be bombing in the Gulf of Mexico.
When is that due to start?
It may already have started. I'm not sure on that one. It's Eglin Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. I can send you the Florida information today so that you'll have it.
Okay.
A lot of it is on, if you go to newswithviews.com and you go down the left-hand side column and you click on my name, my archive of articles will come up, and I have 3 articles on the U.S. Navy, one on the CARE program. And the links at the end of the articles are good, so you can actually look at the Navy documents, you can look at the Navy maps, and you'll be able to see those programs.